Hey everyone, welcome. I'm Kathryn Rose. I'm the founder of channelWise, and I'm very excited to be here today. I've spent at least the last 2 decades working in the IT channel, and I've always enjoyed working closely with partners, of course, and helping MSPs get more value out of the ecosystem around them. And I know that most of you, like me, I'm a business owner too, right? Most MSPs are running their businesses and serving customers. So distribution often gets used in the most obvious ways, but what doesn't always get attention are the resources and programs that can save time, improve service delivery, drive efficiency, and make growth easier and faster. So, today, this session is all about bringing clarity to what's available and how to use it well. And to that end, I am excited to be joined by Rob Webster, VP of Sales at D&H Distribution. Hi, Rob.
Hi, Catherine. Thank you so much for having me.
And we're going to have a very practical conversation today about how to connect distributor resources to real customer needs and your needs, and how to evaluate which opportunities are actually worth your time, and how to use distribution as a stronger extension of your business. And folks out there, we want to make this interactive. So please feel free to put any questions in the Q&A area, but we do have a lot to cover. So let's go ahead and get started. Rob, thanks so much again for being here. Another channel veteran, right? And so, like me, I'm sure you've seen it all in so many ways. So, tell us a little bit more about your experience and how you've seen things evolve over the years.
Yeah, wow. Thank you, Catherine. And how the channel has evolved so much, particularly for the MSP community. And we're seeing changes so rapidly, whether it's AI, all the different things that are happening. It's very difficult for perhaps a small business and MSP partner to get their arms around the changes and all the opportunities for education and enablement. So I think this is probably a great discussion to learn what are all the things out there for them to know.
Absolutely. And I mean, and you've seen even distribution, kind of change and morph over the years and the different programs and things that are offered. But, you know, a lot of the folks out there, as you mentioned, there's a lot of programs, but they're so busy,
Hmm.
working on the different things, and maybe they don't know about everything that's available. So we're really excited about, being able to bring that. When you look at MSPs today, especially those serving that SMB audience,
Hmm.
what feels most differently to you than you've even a few years ago?
Mm. Well, I think the MSPs are, I think the MSP customers are demanding more from the MSP. So if you look at a typical MSP reseller, they're heavy into services, but the customers are asking them to do more. They're asking them, they're a trusted advisor. They're asking them to do security. They're asking them to do hardware. They're asking them to do software. They're asking to do professional services. The question is, as they keep building that out and they have to scale, who helps them scale when the customers are demanding more?
Right. So instead of like, they're trying to service all the customers that they have, and you're trying to also bring in some net new logos as well on there. So it's like how to balance all of that.
Right.
And of course you work very closely with the MSP community at D&H. Where do MSPs tend to underestimate what distribution can actually do for them?
Yeah, I think you hit on it early, where most people view a distributor as somebody that you place an order and they ship you a box and then they leave it there and then they pay for it and then they do quotes and orders. And that really feels like how a lot of people use distribution. I think you're using the greatest ability of distribution on the table when you only use distribution like that. I like one of the terms I heard out there, which I think is the best term, or one of the best terms, is the Global Technology Distribution Council, called distribution the orchestrator of the channel. And if you kind of view that as there's a lot of musicians out there, and if they're not all playing together, then they're not an orchestra. That's really like the channel. And there's so much in the channel. There's the vendor, there's the distributor, there's a reseller, there's the end user, there's the technology. All these things are out there. It's very difficult for a small business MSP to get their arms around that.
And how does D&H and how do distributors, how can they close that gap?
Well, it's really about engaging the distributor. So, like D&H, the distributor is set up to do a couple things. One is to provide scale, and we can talk about that. And the second piece is to provide enablement, because that's what an MSP needs. They need to know how to do it. They need to how to engage with the vendor. Then they need to know how to leverage the resources that the distributor can provide.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and, you mentioned very like interesting things there, because obviously a lot of MSPs use, distributors for the typical things, credit, right,
Hmm.
and collections
Hmm.
and inventory and things like that. But where do you see, and you mentioned a couple areas, but where do you see MSPs really leaving value on the table? Maybe because they just simply don't know that programs exist.
Right, right. Well, there, that's a we probably go over the hour for that answer, but let's start with enablement. So if you look at a typical MSP, a lot of times, perhaps maybe the vendor community sees them as a little MSP, and they don't feel like they have the buying power, and they're competing against maybe bigger customers or bigger resellers that they just can't compete against. The answer for you is all the vendors, the OEMs, the Lenovo's, Dell's, HP's, et cetera, Microsoft, they all have programs that help MSPs. They all have programs where you can engage in the partner program. What we do a really great job of is enabling and helping you understand, if you want to get in that partner program, how do you do it? How do you earn back end dollars? How do you engage the field? We kind of give you the roadmap of the engagement of the vendor partner.
I think that's really important, obviously, to make sure that, and I know that you mentioned a few different kinds of resources and levers that folks can pull, but do you see that it's typically the smaller MSPs that don't take advantage of these resources, or is it the larger ones, or somewhere in between?
It's all of them. It's all of them. And I think you mentioned time a little bit. I think when you're working on a medium business or a small business, and you're sometimes it's some of the MSPs are family owned, you're working to make payroll, you're working hard. Sometimes it's very hard to just stop and say, how do I do this better, faster? How do I get new streams of revenue? How do I get new streams of business? We help you find those new streams. And really, going back to my thought about, or the Global Distribution Council's thought about an orchestrator, we're going to come in and help you conduct your channel business.
Talk a little bit about specifics. So, I mean, I know that you've been in distribution for many years and you've
Hmm.
seen, kind of all the things, and of course, bring in the specifics about around D&H and how it supports partners. But you mentioned enablement. There's a lot of little,
Hmm.
there's a lot of other like programs inside there. Talk a little
Hmm.
bit about the different programs that you've seen be successful and some of the ones that you offer at D&H.
Yeah, so we've got, I mean, not to get too specific, but some of the top OEMs like Lenovo, HPE, Dell, Cisco, we have enablement programs for all of the vendors, because look, as an MSP, sometimes your number one go-to-market is not to sell hardware and perhaps software. You're really selling a managed service stack. So, but what if you ask an MSP owner, they're going to say, yes, I need to be able to sell a security appliance. I need to sell. Yes, my customers are asking me for desktops and notebooks. It is not as tough as you might think it is to be able to provide that total solution. And you're also locking your competitor out from getting in there and also trying to sell into your customer when you're the trusted advisor for that company. So what I would say, Kathryn, is whatever that is, even into the cloud stack, any of those, we teach you and help you and enable you to be able to do whatever you want to do and earn extra profit if it makes sense, depending on your volume.
So the programs that you're talking about, like how you're helping them sell, talk a little bit more specifically about that.
Okay, so we've got like if you're talking about, like, every single one of our vendor partners will have a program where we'll come
Excellent.
in. One is called Cisco Driven, so everybody has a different name. Once you come in, we put you in the program, and there's a pathway for you to help you get authorized, meet the team, meet the D&H team, meet the vendor partner team. We'll actually, it's like a roadmap, Kathryn, on how to partner with that OEM.
Well, that sounds like a great opportunity for folks to be able to like you said, I think it sounds like a pathway, like a map,
Hmm.
that
Hmm.
folks can follow. When you think about the evolution of distribution over the years and
Hmm.
this enablement piece, What capabilities kind of surprise you about how rarely MSPs engage with them? I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure. I mean, you mentioned, some of the OEMs and some of the vendors out there, and I'm
Mhm.
sure all of them have their different programs. But does it surprise you really that MSPs don't really engage with them, or what capabilities are available that you think that they should engage more with?
Yeah, so let's talk about professional services a little bit and scale, because I think scale is a good word. So if you look at an MSP, they may have 5 employees, 10 employees, 100 employees, 6 employees. I think scale is a really, really good word because what an MSP wants, and when they talk to me, what they want is they want to grow their business, but they don't necessarily want to hire 15 more people to do it.
Yeah.
So what we've seen really successful is helping them scale from a professional services perspective. So what I mean by professional services, it's really pre-deployment, post-deployment, and installation and white glove services. This has been a home run with the MSPs because they may not have a staff of 15 techs, or they close the deal and then they can send 15 techs to set it up. What's great, and I think it goes back to your question, is what can we do for you? Is we can actually spec the system from a tech support. We can send it to you or your end user. We can bill you for it, and then we can actually send people out and do an installation for you. And this is interesting, Kathryn, to show our scale as a organization. We just did a setup in every 7-Eleven in the U.S. where if you go in and you get a big gulp, there'll be a speaker above you talking advertisement.
Yeah.
We actually did a rollout, and that was from basically an MSP type customer that just had no way. They had the brand, they had the software, they just had no way to do the installation. We came in and saved the day and did a great job with the installation.
So it sounds like it's even more than enablement. Like you're actually like walking in lockstep with these partners and learning about their business. And I think that that's probably the key, right? And I think
Mhm.
maybe that's something that the MSPs on this call and the folks on this call need to understand is that, you know, when don't it's almost like you don't want to wait to engage when you need them.
Right.
Maybe talk a little bit about some of the proactive steps because I mean, being in the channel so many years, right? You hear a lot of
Hmm.
like, oh, my distributor doesn't do this or my vendors don't do
Yeah.
this. And I have many times when I've worked with MSPs and trained MSPs, I'm like, have you asked them?
Hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
so talk
Good
about a
point.
little bit about how they could be. I mean, I know some of the folks on here are current, D&H customers already, and some may
Mhm.
not be. So if you're a current D&H partner, what are some proactive steps they can take to find out about the different programs that they're
Hmm.
able to take advantage of?
Yeah. Thank you. So everybody on this call that's a D&H customer has a D&H rep that's in North America. So we're very well situated to be able to do that. What we train our reps to do is, and this is kind of in our culture, is not just sell things, but add value. Because going back to what a MSP owner wants is they don't want to be sold to, they want to be helped.
Right.
So I think that's where distribution, and you talked about kind of distribution over the years, and I started at our competitor in 1995. It's so much has changed since 1995, and now the distributor has to add value. Like I was saying, like professional services or enablement or credit capacity or tech support. They've got to add something that bolsters the MSP up and scales them, not just selling them widgets. And I think that's where distribution is doing a great job of maturing past that, just that pick, pack, and ship mentality. So if you are a reseller out there and you want scale and you want to grow your business and you have a growth plan, your number one call should be to your distributor with a plan. And matter of fact, I'll be bold here. We should actually be part of your annual operating plan. We should be talking to you about how to build your business together.
I think that's a great point. And again, if your distributor's not doing that for you, that's something you be proactive about, right? I
Mhm.
mean, we're all the CEOs of our own destiny,
Mhm.
right? I have a
Yes.
business too, and and I often kind of catch myself too instead of saying, "Oh, well, what that can that person do for me? Why haven't they called me?" It's like, "Wait, I'm going to call them and I'm going to
Mhm.
figure out." Or if it's not working, then I need to figure out how to evaluate. So if someone's out there looking to, maybe either, add D&H, become a D&H partner, or maybe they're newer into the MSP space and trying to figure this out, what are some of the things that they should be using to evaluate those relationships to choose like which distribution route to take?
Well, I think it really starts with the approach on when you work with the distributor. How is their approach? And the approach should be a consultative approach to, again, helping you with value, coming and bringing you things that are going to build your business, not just selling you things. This is where we coach a lot. Is the MSP community wants to grow their business. They want to grow past perhaps some of the stack that they're doing already. They want to broaden their lines of revenue. And the distributor is the one to come help them and give them new ideas. Even, hey, distributor, what's the newest technology you guys are seeing? Going back to the channel orchestrator idea, we're really the middle of the wheel of all of the channel. We know what the trends are. We know whether the new products being sold. We know what are the hot commodity. We know what's going on.
Yeah.
Talking to your distributor is the best way, and also going to our events. So if there's an event out there, that is a great place to really get it all in one. Vendor, distributor, you talk to everybody at those events. They're always really, really good to get some information.
Yeah, and get that face to face too. I think sometimes that's always a great way. Folks out there, if you have any questions, please go ahead and put them into the Q&A. We're here to be a resource and to help. And you mentioned, Rob, I want to go back to some specifics. So you mentioned that MSP who worked with you, who put those speakers in those 7-Elevens. How did that come about? Were they just talking with their rep and saying, I have this opportunity, but I don't know how I'm going to deliver it?
Exactly. So they had the IP of being able to deliver content into a retail. They didn't have the engine, the professional services engines to deliver it. What was really interesting is that we were also able to provide much of the hardware for the installation, not all of it, but we're able to. They sent us their part of the hardware. We took the speaker or whatever. We put it all together. We put it in the box and we shipped it to 25, I think it was 25,000, 12,000, 7-Elevens throughout the country. And then we went out and we installed, I think, 10 or 15 a day. We're actually working on even a bigger project that could come about that's non-disclosure. But these are the type of things that I think gets the MSP interested, because you may feel like you're a small business and maybe a smaller tertiary city, but the scope you have with a distributor just makes you look humongous. It makes you look like the biggest reseller out there in the marketplace. So if you have that knowledge is power. You just have to bring us the opportunity and say, I have an end user, I have a customer, they're a very good customer of mine, but I don't think I can scale to what they want us to do. The first call is to distribution and say, can you help us do this?
I think that's such a great point, because I know oftentimes, because I work with a lot of the MSPs and small businesses around the world, really. And I think oftentimes we tend to sit and think, well, I could do that if I had this, or, and we don't really reach out for help. Why do you think that is?
I think that it's just, you don't know what you don't know, because I think going back to right where we started the conversation, most people see the distributor as a pick, pack, and ship. Like, I probably don't know everything that a lot of people that deliver stuff to me do, but with distribution, they've built out a value stack that is way, way beyond. A matter of fact, I don't even know if the moniker of distribution is a great title for what we do. It really should be a technology solution provider.
Right.
Really, I think that would be a better name for us. Distribution is probably not the greatest title for all the things we do.
It isn't, but I can tell you something. The channel does not need another acronym.
Yeah, probably not.
Please
yeah,
no.
That's why
Please
it hasn't
no.
changed, Kathryn. We tried to. It wasn't going to work.
I was like, please don't. So you mentioned about the 7-Eleven install. Give it other examples of ways that, maybe some unique ways that MSPs have come and worked with you, or you've brought opportunities, and really thought your reps have really kind of opened up opportunities for your MSP MSP partners.
So, I mean, you could imagine any type of installation. So we're doing video walls, we're doing collab rooms. A lot of times, I think a lot of the MSPs are passing up opportunities because They just say, I don't want to do this. I don't want to hire new people. There's liability there. I don't have the cash right now to go hire 3 more people. But I think that really you can bring us an opportunity and say, I've got an end user that wants, I've got to do an installation. They're asking us to do this. Why pass on it? And the nice thing is we'll do the work for you. We'll even kind of white label it for you. And then you mark it up with your markup, even to the point where if it's a school and you've got a school client, but they're asking you for notebooks or desktops, we can actually do the imaging, the asset tagging, the etching for the school and send it right to the school all ready to go, all partitioned, all ready. You don't have to do anything except mark it up and make a profit.
I have to tell you, I'm getting a huge education because I did not know any of this either. I think that, I mean, I knew that enablement programs and things like that, but I had no idea that you could bring an opportunity and say, I may have, something that I would normally work and wrap services around, but I have this additional opportunity, but I don't have the expertise. And then the distributor would jump in. I think that's a great lesson for everybody out there. It's like, don't be limited by what you're selling today. Right?
Yes.
Think about, because especially with connectivity, like everything's connected. And you don't want
Yes.
to be like, oh, well, I don't do that, or I can't do a video wall, or I can't do the, because I'm not an expert at it, or I don't have the expertise in house. It sounds like, wow, this is a really big education for me as well. So thank you for that.
You're welcome.
The MSPs, obviously we talked about before, very stretched thin. So when should they realistically turn within distribution to get some kind of clarity or relief? Do you recommend that they are, maybe, at the point of sale, after they have a conversation with a client, or should it be like more of a cadence, like a quarterly review of their business, and then they're forward looking for the year? I mean, we're at the year end, right? So
Yeah.
maybe it's something that they can start thinking about, like, how can they leverage distribution better in 2026?
Yeah. So I'm gonna take more of a micro approach to that question, and I think you hit on something that's a great idea. Is when you say where to engage, most the sales cycle for most of the engagement with distribution is you do all the work, you do all the quoting and ordering, and you get right down to the end of it, and then you get a purchase order from your customer, and then you go to all the distributors and you see who has the best price. I would say that is probably not the most optimized way to work with distribution. Well, what I've coached my team, and I've coached a lot of customers and mentored them, is start at the very beginning of the sales cycle to engage us, because distribution and the channel has so many levers. And I think this is what scares people, that there's special bid pricing, there's product, there's
It can
inventory,
be
there's
very
shortages.
yeah.
Shorted that, like you're like, I don't want to do this. This is what I just want to. I'm gonna do 365 Azure, whatever. I'm gonna set it and forget it. I'm gonna have monthly recurring revenue. That's good. That's easy. I'm good. What really happens, and what really happens, is if you start with the distributor at the very beginning of the sales cycle and we walk through the sales cycle together with this inventory, special bid pricing, engaging the OEM, getting the inventory, getting it shipped, getting it installed, sending it to the location. We do it together, then it is such a very less complicated, sometimes it can be complicated, but less complicated way of doing it. When it's not a procurement motion, it is a partnership motion.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. It's not a procurement motion. I think that's one of this conversation is hopefully going to be changing the minds of folks out there to start thinking about it less than from a transactional perspective and more, as you said, like a partnership, like walking in lockstep, walking together, trying to figure out these deals. Because, I mean, again, I've been in this business a long, long time, and I know exactly what you're talking about. That's where I was like, oh, hey, distribution is more transactional. And sure, they have these enablement programs, but it wouldn't have occurred to me either to kind of engage that much in the beginning. What is the fastest way for them to sort of regain direction? So let's say that everyone out here was like, oh yeah, same thing with me, like, oh, they're thinking it's much more transactional, and or I have because a lot of people right now are in renewal, or they're onboarding new clients because contracts are ending and things like that, and so they're switching out their providers. Where's the best way for them to sort of regain direction with the distributor? Is it to, engage with their reps and that
Mhm.
kind of thing?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of times the motion here is kind of like shoot, ready, go, right? And what we've done with the partners, which has been overwhelmingly great for them, and we got great feedback, is we create what we call a built for growth call. A built for growth is really our kind of our go to market at D&H, but what we do is we sit down with the owner. It's myself, it's the sales manager, and it's the rep, and we sit and we don't talk about what they buy. We talk about how we can help them, and we walk them through. Okay, what are your pain points? Where do you have gaps? Where do you want to go? Where's your growth strategies? And then we map out a account plan to execute. Sometimes they say, hey, Rob, I don't have any credit. You need to get me credit. I'm a small business. Whatever that need is, we map it out and then we help them get to where they want to go and focus on not what they want to, what they don't want to talk about, but we want to focus on what's going to help them grow their business.
That is really great, and it sounds like you were really taking this, very seriously, working with these MSPs who are small
Mhm.
businesses, and trying to go beyond that transaction. What about the fact that I know when I work with a lot of MSPs, and I work with as I work with them, they'll always ask me, "What are best practices?" Do you bring
Mhm.
a lot of those back to your MSPs as well? Like what things that they can do to support what their customers actually care about?
Yeah, so we have we have one of the things that we really do is we've got a lot of events where we'll kind of have peer-to-peer discussions with the partners. It's amazing what MSPs will do, and there's a lot out there, and I'm sure a lot of on this call are participating. But I think one of the best ways to do that is a peer-to-peer network where you're talking to each other, you're asking about how you do payroll, you're asking how you bill services, you ask how you all the different things that an MSP does. That peer-to-peer networking is great. We have one at D&H. My competitors all have one, but there's a lot of ways to really engage each other to get that knowledge.
That's great. And I think that's facilitating that is super, super helpful. One of the things that, I mean, you mentioned a lot of programs, and I know, and just the whole process of going through everything and trying to choose. I'm sure that everyone out there, and I've seen it too, is that they're being presented all the time with new programs and new opportunities. From your perspective, if you put yourself and you put your MSP hat on, put
Mhm.
yourself in their shoes, how should they quickly decide what programs and services are worth leaning into and which
Mhm.
ones they should kind of skip?
Yeah. So that goes to kind of the distribution vetting process it really goes to the distribution vetting process of who we see as kind of the goers and have the best channel programs for MSP. What's really interesting, Kathryn, and I'm seeing because I'm talking to all the channel leaders for all the top OEMs, their number one market that they want to grow is, guess what? It's MSP and SMB. Like if you talk to any channel executive, they're going
Yeah,
to walk into that room and say, "Hey,
same.
Rob Webster at D&H, how do we grow your MSPs?" So they are creating programs around the MSP communities all day long. So again, it starts with that BFG discussion to say what OEMs do you want to work with? Where do you want to go? How much business out there do you think you're leaving behind? How deep do you want to go in? Because some MSPs will say, hey, look, I'm not interested in any of this. It's not good for me. That's fine. I think my job as a leader in the channel is to show them how they can do it if they want to do it. And if the customer demand is out there, if the customer is telling our MSP, I want to work with you, I'm buying from somebody else I don't want to buy from, I want to work with you, but you won't do it, then there's where we have an opportunity.
And then that's when they should really lean in. Someone asked in the chat, what is an MSP in your world? I think that's a really great question
Yeah,
because
yeah.
I think we talked about the acronyms, right? All the
Mhm.
different things. So talk a little bit about the MSP definition from the D&H perspective.
Yeah, that's a really tough question. I would say almost every reseller in some facet is an MSP. I think if you ask you talked about when I started in the channel in 1995, that whole motion didn't exist. If you fast forward to 2025, 26, everybody really kind of, I don't see a lot of people that don't have an MSP-like motion to their
Something,
customers.
yes.
You have to have it. You have to have it. But I think there's some that are solely managed service providers, and that's what they do. And I think this conversation is how do you take an MSP that's just, they don't do anything other than just the managed service stack, and then you expand to other things that your customers are asking you about. So I don't know if I can define an MSP in my world, because I think it's almost every customer we have in some capacity, but there are that are very uniquely just a managed service provider.
Right. They're just specifically, doing the vast majority of their
Yep.
business through services is what
Right.
you're saying.
Right.
Yeah.
100%.
As opposed to a VAR or reseller that does
Yes.
most of their business through equipment and then wraps
Correct.
some services around it. And obviously,
Correct.
in the SMB world, I think and that's why everyone's so excited about it, right? Because,
Mhm.
you have the hyperscalers and people are like buying, the enterprises looking at marketplaces, and the MSPs and the SMB world is so attractive because there's a lot of opportunity there. Right. There's a
Mhm.
lot of opportunity, and that's where, the folks on this call can really, really shine and thrive really in that
Mhm.
area. Any other questions out there? Go ahead and put them into the chat. Hopefully, that answered your question, Joshua. Thank you for that. Um, if if MSPs wanted to strengthen the relationships or strengthen how they work with you all, what is one simple step that everyone can take
Mhm.
today that would actually make a difference?
Mhm. So, I think I think you have to be in it to win it, right? And somewhere you have to take that first step. And you have the first thing is to kind of I'm going to get a little theatrical here, but you have to kind of tell the universe, I want to do this or I want to do that. It starts with letting us know what is your business plans in the future. You have to call it out, and then once that you call that out, then the ball starts rolling with us helping you execute. And if we don't know what you probably don't know what you don't know, and we don't know what you don't know. So the good news is that initial meeting when we have with the ownership of the company, you're going to let us know where you want to go, and then we're going to put together a path for you to get there.
So it sounds like a lot of this starts from, if you are currently a D&H partner, you need to step back, take a little bit of a
Mhm.
step back and start treating this more like a partnership
Yes.
rather than transactional. And because some of those folks might have started, in with D&H before you even got there, right? And
Yes.
maybe this is
Yeah.
something new. So this is an
Mhm.
opportunity for everyone out there to kind of hit that reset button in a way and kind of start that relationship over again, and knowing
Mhm.
that that you have this opportunity to work with D&H, and also, your other distributors too. But absolutely, it sounds like D&H is taking that step. And I think the other thing that's really resonating the message is that, the step, it's not just the distributor that needs to take the step. If
Mhm.
I'm a customer, if I'm a partner of D&H, it's up to me too. Like,
Mhm.
I have to take that step as well. Um, what you mentioned in the beginning about AI, and I know that
Mhm.
D&H, and I know, that, I mean, everyone's sort of leaning into it, but you have a really interesting initiative. Talk a little bit about that for everyone out there.
Yeah, so I think AI is a hard thing to get your arms around, and it means so much to so many, and some people don't get it, some people don't understand it, some people. So we've got an initiative called Go Big AI, and it's really our opportunity to go to market with our OEMs to talk about how you can use AI in your business, how to train you with AI, what are the devices going to do for AI. And I think we're at the early stages of
Mhm.
AI, but what I'm seeing out there is I'm seeing the customers starting to lean in on, do I need to start buying AI devices now? Or do I need to have them AI enabled? Do I need to have the AI chip? Do I need to have the functionality? How do I power AI? How do I cost justify AI? Like, I think that's the biggest thing out there is if you're making an investment for AI, you got to be able to say this is going to save time. I can say personally, I'm using AI on most of my meetings when I do a meeting with the customer, and it'll actually summate the whole meeting and summate all the action items. I used to have to write that in, it looked like a Egyptian type of writing. I used to do that. I couldn't even read my own writing. Now it's done in a half second. That's the way it's saving me time already. So how do we enable those type of functions that help us truncate the busy work we're doing all day. Because honestly, in the channel, we're way too busy we don't have enough time to really do what we're doing already. So I think again, go to the distributor and engage on what are your AI tracks, what are the OEMs that are presenting AI, what are the case studies, what are the cost justifications for AI. This is all housed within distribution.
That's fantastic. And folks, again, out there, please ask questions. We're here to help and to answer the questions. You have an expert here in the process of distribution. So make sure that if you have anything, we're really happy to answer it. I think one of the things that oftentimes seems to be coming, that might be a little bit of a mystery, right? Is how the distributor really thinks and operates behind the scenes.
Mhm.
So, obviously you want to support your partners and things like that, but how can the support partners actually support you as well in these motions, in these sales opportunities?
Yeah. Well, here's something interesting is that I think a lot of I think let's talk about kind of the hardware software sale a little bit is I don't know if a lot of people that haven't worked in the channel a lot or haven't worked with the channel, they completely understand how it all works. And I think one of the ways we can help MSPs that haven't worked with the distributor or haven't worked in the channel is kind of piece it together for them. For example, when a lot of MSPs that I talk to don't understand that when you have an end user, you can actually go to the OEM and get special pricing. A lot of times I'll go, whoa, I got a price online and I put it out there, and one of the big resellers out there beat me out by $50 a notebook. And they're like, I can't compete. But what they didn't know is they could actually register the deal through the OEM for a new customer and then get special pricing through distribution. So a
Okay.
lot of these things, they don't understand how the channel works. So, and then sometimes they'll actually be purchasing other places in the channel and they didn't understand they could be purchasing from distribution. We could help you with special pricing. So I think again, it comes back to bringing us an opportunity or a challenge with your customer and how we can fix it. And there's so many ways that we can help you get more streams of revenue, and you can make money doing it, and we can make it fairly easy. It's never super easy, but we can make it more easy. But it's definitely a way to help you. So helping you learn the channel is very important.
I think so. I absolutely agree with you. It can be a little bit challenging, but once you kind of figure out how all these things work together, you do make it easier for yourself because
Yeah.
you're really working with those partners that you've signed up with your distributors and with the folks, the different players that can
Mhm.
really help you make it more successful. If looking ahead,
Yeah.
now I know obviously AI changes every
Mhm.
second and things like
Yeah.
that, but in terms of distribution over, let's say, the evolving over, let's say, the next 12 to 18 months,
Yeah.
what should MSPs really be preparing for in any kind of this evolution that's
Yeah.
happening?
Yeah, so there's a big evolution coming and all the OEMs are talking about it. It's been a little bit of a slow roll, but it's going to happen. So you probably heard it if you've gone to any of the OEMs big meetings, they're talking about that most of the hardware will eventually become as a service, right? It'll become
Hmm.
as a subscription. That's hard to wrap our head around because I've been doing it since 1995. We've been selling billions of dollars of hardware.
Yeah.
What D&H has done a great job of is we do hardware and we do cloud, and we have a cloud subscription platform. So if you look ahead, I think a lot of the MSPs out there work with different people they buy from. Some of them are only selling kind of the software side or the subscription side. We do it all. So I think if you want to position your business down in the future, you're going to want to be able to have a platform where hardware is going to be able to be consumed by your end user as a subscription, and that's where D&H is going. D&H is going with our partners, with our OEMs, the Cisco's, the HPs, the Dells, the Lenovo. They're creating a as a service model, and we're
Interesting.
creating a platform in conjunction with them for you and your customer to consume that. I think that, Kathryn, is really the trend for our MSPs and it'll get them into hardware faster because they're already doing the managed services already.
That's really exciting. Interesting. I can't wait to see, how that unfolds. Just like you said, being through this evolution of how many
Mhm.
cycles and different things. So it's been really interesting to see. If there's no other questions out there, we're gonna kind of wrap it up a little bit. But if you could leave the audience with one practical thought about
Mhm.
leveraging distribution better, more effectively, something they could act on immediately, like right after this call, what
Yeah.
would it be?
I would say be in it to win it and engage. So I think Kathryn, you're going to put my information up there. You can contact me directly. I'll if you don't have an account, we'll help you set up an account. If you do have an account, I'll get you with your rep and we'll create a call to talk about your business. But that engagement is where all the magic starts.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. If there's any other questions, go ahead and put them in the chat or put them in the Q&A area. But, if you want to take this conversation to the next level, as Rob mentioned, if you're a D&H partner currently, go ahead and contact your dedicated account team. And if you're not partnered with D&H yet, I highly recommend you find out more. I mean, the fact that they've invested this time in this time for you and with their head of sales, of all their sales is really shows how, in my opinion, how dedicated they are to their partners. And Rob, as Rob mentioned, you can reach out to him directly. I just put his email into the chat, so go ahead and grab that. Or to sign up directly with D&H, I'm going to put this link into the chat as well. And I know that they will be asking some poll questions coming up. And while they're doing that, if there are any other questions, go ahead and put them into the chat. I'll be watching that now to see if there's anything else. And thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Rob, any other final thoughts?
No, I want to thank you, Kathryn. Great job, great intuitive questions. I hope the audience really got value out of our discussion. There's a lot there, but we can continue it past this webinar.
Well, and again, I'm so excited to see where the evolution is going. And I'm really hoping that all the people that were on this call will take you up on that advice to engage with their D&H rep, with their distributors, and figure out how to do more business more efficiently in 2026. And then we can all thrive, right, Rob?
Yes, and happy holidays to everybody.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And until next time.
Thank you.